Here we go. It's match 2 of the night. We've got University of New Mexico versus Macalester Esports. Going all the way from Division 1, our top division here in Collegiate Esports, down to Div 3. So these are a bit lower skill players, but they're still exciting to have here on the broadcast, and we love being able to cast them. Once again, I'm Sorin Marokov. I'm joined tonight by Spafflez here, co-casting with me. Spafflez, we've gone all the way up to see some of the best of what Collegiate has to offer. What are you looking for in some of these games?
I mean, honestly, I'm expecting some good scrappy fights. I don't really think that there's going to be too much of, that sort of trading across the map like we saw a lot of in the UFT series, but I do see a lot of potential here for both of these teams. Now, one thing that's important to shout out is the playoffs run for both of these teams is going to be very, very close. And Macalester actually needs to win 2 games to be able to qualify, although it will just help set them up for next week rather than guarantee their qualification as they're fighting in for that, illustrious 4th place position in the group.
Yeah, these are round 4 matches. We're here in week 5, but people get busy, especially around midterms here, so a couple of teams are still playing catch up, but we'll have to see who can come and secure their playoff spot here, or at least continue to fight for it as we take a look at the rosters and see who's playing tonight. For the University of New Mexico side, here on the right, this is their cherry branch. We've got Gransnek, Axolotl, Kanamori, Wanlead, Pangolin, and DXRK. If I remember correctly, this team has been around for a decent bit, at least since last season, maybe even season 1, or season 0, I forget. But Macalester College are new to the scene, and they're running tonight with Paradox Love, Tarbo, Aranim, Basil, Insatsu, and Mayeli.
All right, good rosters from both these teams. Yeah, I really do think that I don't know. I just have this tingle that we might see a Paradox tonight. Not really sure.
Who knows?
Yeah. Although aside from that, I mean, do you have any really big expectations coming into this round? Like, who do you think we're going to see picked, banned, all of that?
I really don't know. I've cast one time before for Macalester, and really around this level, it's much more about what the players know rather than what the game is particularly pushing at any point. So it could be very different from what we saw in the first matchup of the night. So it's going to be more about the comfort picks and less about team comp and the sorts of things that we were predicting in the first couple of drafts.
All right. And, with that, I mean, a lot of characters that we have been seeing, they have continued to also be low-ranked menaces, but there's also been a little bit of a different shift in the ranked ladder, right? I know that there has been a lot of, for example, Infernus play. If you're not buying those Dispel Magics, it can be incredibly difficult to deal with. Once he stacks that Afterburn, even from like level 1, level 2, he's going to start dealing a lot of damage to you, and same thing with 7, right? 7, once you allow him to scale, if there's not a lot of that early game pressure, he's just going to snowball you out of that game. So interested in seeing if those get picked up. Potentially other M1 carries as well are always viable. But yeah, like you said, a lot of this does come down to comfort more so than their straight up meta value.
Yeah, gonna have to see how that plays out. But even more than that, I'm looking in the game. I'm wanting to see some improvements in the macro play from these two teams, because that was definitely one of the weak spots from the round 1 game that I cast down here in Division 3. Was just kind of teams not really knowing what to do in each phase of the game. So I'd love to see if I at least cast Macalester before. I haven't seen UNM in action, but if we can see some improvement there, start to recognize when we can take walkers or mid boss or push the base. That'll definitely be good to see as we start here in the draft, and we'll see Celeste and Bebop as the first bans.
All right, pretty standard bans here for the Celeste at least. Bebop is a little more interesting. I think that tells a bit of a story. You don't want to deal with some of those, high stacking games. You feel a little better off without them. Well, the Macalester do lock in the Abrams first pick, and UNM Cherry, there you go. You have it, the 7. Locking in their L1 carry off the rip, and we have an Ivy as well.
No, I think Ivy's going to be pretty solid here. If you can just get people in the Entangling Thorns, then it's much harder for people to work their way out of it at this point. And 7, as you said, is one of the biggest low elo stompers just because of how easy it is for him to get fed and then just kind of you over with a severe stats check since people aren't counter itemizing quite as much. The Abrams from Macalester, I feel like, could put in some work. This Yamato as well, if both are played well, you could have a really brawly frontline up against the 7, who can just sometimes get run over by some big beefy tanks if he's out of position. So, got at least some understandable starts here to the draft, even if it's... I mean, I don't want to put the pressure of like playing meta onto these teams. Like, it is just going to be what their players can play, but I think, at least so far, this isn't terrible.
Yeah, we see the page come out from Macalester too. Some pretty solid utility all around. You know, you got that extra income being generated from the golden egg item. I know it's not a page exclusive, but given that she doesn't do too much damage on her own early game, it might as well be. You know, it did get buffed up, right? So now I think it gives about 90 souls a minute, so it makes it a little bit more competitive with your other options. UNM Cherry lock in that Victor, and you know, it seems like UNM, they're all in on that, you know, hyper scaling late game. We're going to beat you guys up at like, just give us like 30-40 minutes to scale first, you know.
Hey, the first 40 minutes don't matter, right? This is all about who can finish first. But yeah, Victor and 7, if this game goes late, then it's gonna go the way of UNM, I feel like, unless Macalester really start to pick up some things here afterwards. Something like a Pocket could be really big, but that is more of a skill-intensive hero. Speaking of skill-intensive, UNM banning out the Lash, who can be a bit tricky to play. So Macalester won't have that option available to them to like yank the 7 out of the Stormcloud or the Ivy from her ult as well. And the other ban here is going to be a bit more standard here. The Billy being shoved away. So Macalester, after taking Abrams and Yamato and banning away Billy, have left UNM without a whole lot of options for frontline until they get to that late game with the Victor.
Yeah, I'm really surprised that the Pocket didn't get banned. Maybe they're just banking on it not being played, like you said, but it is going to be a really significant hurdle for that Victor to jump over. I feel like you hit an affliction, you start to focus your fire on him, and he is going to fall over really, really fast. When it comes to potential pickups for both of these teams, I mean, Macalester, they still really need their damage carries. They need their M1s, they need maybe some spirit threats if that's what they're going for. UNM, though, they have a bit more of a rounded roster. Hopefully they find a spot to slot in one of their initiators. Maybe they do lock in the Viscous, though.
Yeah, that's an interesting pick. I feel like Viscous can be played a lot of different ways right now. So curious what UNM have been practicing with that Goo Boy. And then, as you said, yeah, Macalester here in the last half needs to come up with some way to be able to finish off these kills, because especially if they're facing off against a Victor who, I mean, he really is best in the late game once he's got, you know, all the items he could ever want, but even in the mid game, he can be a pretty big menace if you don't have a lot of damage to be able to dish out in team fights. So Macalester would love to see the Wraith. I feel like that's a fairly easy pickup to be able to dish out a lot of damage while also being pretty good in the meta. Infernus, as you said, could come in here and do a lot of that damage as well with the Afterburn. It'll be cleared off with Victor, but if you go melee Infernus, which now builds up Afterburn... No, I'm completely joking. I've never seen Infernus go melee, and I hope I never do.
I mean, I feel like we're manifesting it right now. We're just, you know, we're making fun of it. We're making jokes. And then Yoshi is randomly going to push a patch that goes like, okay, well, one heavy melee now procs Afterburn, and then it's going to be everywhere. We do see, though, Macalester locking in that Mo and Krill, following up with a second quick pick is going to be the Doorman. All right, Doorman at this level, quite interesting. I'm interested in seeing what kind of flavor it's going to be, though.
I think that after the recent changes where you don't have to be, you know, practicing your door lineups for 50 years before you can get a game on the hero, I think you can just lock people in the Baroness, and people might not be as practiced on how to get out of that on low stam, that I think you could have a pretty effective ult Doorman this game, especially because it doesn't look like UNM have picked a whole lot of mobility. Like, Ivy would have to use her ult, and Viscous as well is about the only other thing UNM have for them so far as getting out, now that 7 doesn't have the speed anymore.
Yeah.
I guess Victor has a little bit as well. I'm getting off track. Anyway, Doorman could be good this game.
Yeah, I don't doubt that at all, especially... I don't think that Ult Rush is currently the flavor of the month. I think that it's still Bell first and then into ults. Potentially you get doors for your shields as well, extra utility. But I mean, still, Macalester, they're really putting off that damage carry till the very last pick, because right now they're still they don't really quite have that. Although, as I say that, right, Doorman did get a really nice bump up with his bells. It's just not consistent at all. And then you also have the haze getting picked up from UNM Cherry. Could be a pick haze. It is a lot easier to pilot, a traditional carry haze where you would just go, you would pick up your ricochet, your siphon bullets, all of that. You just press alt in the middle of the team, especially with that brand new 5 AP upgrade that allows you to select 2 targets or target 2 enemies with the ults. Interested in seeing what way that goes.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because both are somewhat viable. It's just more dependent on how your team plays it. And then UNM also rounding out their draft with another pick hero in the Calico. So you've got a decent amount of self-sufficient pick here to be able to get your carries to the late game. Not a whole lot of team fight cohesion for this UNM Cherry squad. You don't really have a big team fight ultimate aside from the 7. You don't have a support or much of a front line until Victor can get online. But you've got a lot of different pieces here that can each potentially pop off. So Macalester are going to have to play in a coordinated fashion to roll this one out. And here, exactly as you wanted for this last pick, we've got the Warden coming in. That's going to be a decent amount of damage, but I think it's going to take too long to get online. It might play a bit more into UNM's strategy.
Yeah, I do think that Warden is a little bit in that weird spot where his mid game is really, really good, especially if you're able to get ahead of that curve. But then when you start to get to that ultra late game scenario, you're just not holding up a candle to that 7, to that Victor. Even to like a late game haze can put out lots of damage. And Macalester, while they do have some tools at their disposal to sort of mitigate that, aside from, maybe getting one pick a fight or starting off a fight with an advantage, it doesn't seem like they have too much going in their favor to keep the fight going long term.
Yeah, you are more reliant on those picks, I think, to try and make this one work. And because late, as we said repeatedly, Victor 7 will just take over a game, and that does tend to happen a bit more in these sorts of, I believe this is like an emissary average lobby, according to the stats, which aren't necessarily the most accurate that we have. Okay, yeah. I'm finding it now. UNM average Oracle 6, and Macalester average Emissary 6, so around that level of play for these two squads. UNM coming in as the favorites as they are 3-3 on the season. As you said, Macalester here fighting for their playoffs lives at 2-4 on the season. Just need a couple more wins to be in the top 4 of their division coming up here for the end of the season.
Yep. Now, as we're getting ready to head into this match, what are you looking at here? Where do you think that things can really happen? Because we know that there's a lot of weakness on the UNM early game. Do you think Macalester might be able to take advantage of that? Like, what do you think the game plan is going in?
I think a lot's going to be riding on these lanes, because if Macalester can get off to a decent start, they've got a couple of heroes who can be decent in lane. Yamato, Warden, Doorman even, I think, after the most recent changes, can be quite strong in lane. I think if lanes go well for them, they can have a good start and really set UNM behind and hopefully get some tempo to at least delay the carries from UNM from coming online. If that can't happen and they lose their Guardians early, start to fall behind on that soul curve, I think it's going to be pretty disastrous. So a lot riding on what we open up with here. And we open up with a pause! Yippee!
I absolutely love Pause Lock. One of my favorite games. But, now that we're at least, somewhat into this match, we can see some of these lane assignments. It looks like you're going to be sending, what is that? Your Calico Victor into the middle lane, facing off against an Abrams Moe and Krill. Okay lane assignments, I guess. The Calico is going to struggle a lot when it comes to that heavy CC and, just being punished really early. You've got your Ivy and 7 running up against a Page, and who is that coming with this one? The Doorman?
Doorman, yeah.
Yep. So I don't really foresee too much action happening in this lane.
Yeah, not a lot of damage, especially for the Macalester side here on the left.
Yep.
Almost would have preferred to see them send someone else here, as you're going to need a lot of coordination between your Page and Doorman to make anything happen. 7 could just run over them here if Pangolin gets off to a good start. So
Yeah.
maybe a bit of a sack lane for Macalester, as the left side is generally seen as the stronger one, but, maybe that helps them here. Kind of the church angle and the small camp and things. But we'll have to see.
Yeah, I mean, just like you're saying, right? I would have maybe preferred to see Yamato or maybe the Abrams get paired up with that page, give them a lot of that early game threat, and then you would even have like a Warden and a Doorman, and a Doorman would play more like a peel play style, or even like finding those cheeky angles, getting them off guard. But alas, it's not really what's going to happen this round.
Well, seeing the teams chat about what's going on, apparently Macalester was talking in all chat VC rather than their team chat, so free info for UNM, but we will finally be unpausing here and get into the game. Doorman going to be a little bit late to that left side lane, but not really going to be much of a concern. As we see what's happening here in the middle, it looks like Macalester are choosing to let UNM get Cryo in some of these lanes, just so that they can get a bit easier time clearing once it gets up to Guardian.
Yeah, there's, I mean, like we touched on before, right? There's not too much heavy cryo that should be given after you get out of this, first level, 2 levels. Everyone gets their abilities online. I do expect to see some more aggressive play, but Macalester already getting damage onto this Guardian. It might not spell too many good things here for the lane.
Yeah, it's just tickle damage, though. Nobody can really pressure a tower wave 1. I mean, I play a decent bit of McGinnis, and even then I can't do much to it wave 1, so... Calico just gonna let the tower know she's there, and see how things shake out afterwards. As you said, though, a lot of pressure happening here, even in this second lane. It seems like Victor's just kind of putting himself out there, and again, without everybody having all of their abilities online yet, not a lot that can pressure him out. We'll get a couple of denies off of it, though. Very calm early game. Nobody really wanting to play aggressive here in some of their first organized matches.
Yeah, it is going to be a lot of damage out, though, onto this Melon Drill. He is very sticky, but once you get him down to low HP, it might be a struggle to, heal your way back up over these waves. We see the 7 already, stealing your opponent's tier 1 camps off to a really strong start, as that'll help you power through your 1600 power spikes. You're going to get your ults faster, especially when you're looking at the buffs, as it is going to be a first blood going the way of Calico onto the Melon Drill.
Good start there from 1 leader. Solid dive, and made a bit of a cheeky play trying to get the Abrams to melee, but instead just took a bit of walker damage. But yeah, good stuff here from UNM at the start. Axolotls, though, takes a nice parry. Will shortly go down to the Yamato of Paradox Levered. Not on the signature hero, but that's alright. They seem to be doing fine anyway.
Actually, yeah, I don't think Paradox got banned either, so intriguing to see how that, worked out. I guess they had a different game plan in mind. A really nice pickup, though. Finally seeing one of the Macalester lanes doing well is always a good sign.
Just wanted to make sure that they get out of this early game in a positive fashion so that UNM don't completely roll over them.
Yep.
As we're seeing... Again, after those first couple of trades, everybody just playing safe. We're seeing a couple of box runs, but that is a place where a lot of these teams could, level up. It's just by treating the soul economy a little more greedily in this early game. A lot of good tower damage coming over here on the left side, though. Again, just Macalester not really with a way to shove off this 7.
Yeah, monster rounds and 7. Pair that with the Guardian. It's a love story for the ages. We do already see it has a pretty greedy heal bane there lined up, just making sure that your opponents are not going to be able to heal too much, at least not passively at least. We do already see the Yamato playing very aggressively again with a nice lash there onto the knees. The Viscous Cube is able to save them for the time being, and it's still going to be just so much damage coming into them as they haven't even opted into defensive green items yet. Yeah,
Active Reload first item on Haze is definitely more damage focused. And eventually will need to buy something survivable against a poke-heavy Yamato. Now going in again, one lead. Taking a lot of Guardian pressure each time they go in like that, but they are still staying safe and just getting so much poke onto this double tank lane from Macalester. Harbor wins in Satsu. Need to make sure that they stay safe, but this Guardian not able to stay safe, as this just got to sit out here and take the brunt of this damage, and that is a very early lead for one of the most scary people to get fed early in Pangolin 7.
Yep, really early Guardian there. We can see the mid lane one taking a lot of damage, but now as the bridge buffs are starting to spawn, we see that UNM, they'll have first move on both of them so far. This Spirit buff coming up on that left side, I'd be very surprised if they weren't rushing it for Cash then.
We see Ivy rotating over here. Good move from Kanamori. Just making sure that that right side Guardian doesn't become a weak spot for UNM Cherry. That'll enable Seven also to stay over in his lane, make sure that everything gets farmed up over there, as I don't even really think you need a second person to babysit him with pressure that Macalester are able to put onto that Guardian. So this will be a really good time for Pangolin to just continue to get the soul lead up. I want to see Macalester at some point find some pressure to be able to rotate, but that might be a hard play to spot if you're not used to these sorts of organized environments.
Yeah, there was a nice pickup though. The movement buff going over to Paradox Lover, gonna further this Yamato's lead and hopefully be able to convert it to some bigger advantages. Warden though, changing the world, getting Viscous extremely low, is gonna eventually secure that last hit, and being able to convert that lead into even more kills. That's exactly what you want to see.
Axolotl having a bit of a rough game so far, down to just 3,000. Splinter the Haze, and Macalester, again, that left side still getting shoved up by 7. Miele goes down, also fairly low in souls. And also Erinim forced to back off at the same time, so 7 getting both sides of the jungle over there on that left side. Pangolin having a pretty happy time so far, not particularly pressured.
Yep, setting up at 6.8k, almost 7k now at 6 minutes. Pretty good. You got the Cult of Sacrifice locked in when you walk back in. Got it a minute early just for the last, because you're ideally going to want to use it here on the T3 camps. Now we do see the Spirit Ivy. You got your what's it called? Your Spirit Shredder. Mystic Vulnerability. There you go. And your extra charge is just fully investing in your Kutsu damage. And be able to clear those camps, no problem.
Yep, and Hayes here saving up for something. We'll see what it is. Just waiting. There we go. We got a bullet lifesteal coming in. That is a green online for the Haze.
Yeah.
Right. This mid lane, really one of the only points of contention left for Macalester. They've lost their Guardian there, but they are putting a lot of pressure on with 3 members here. Kill comes in on the right side, as UNM have committed 3 over there to win that last lane with both Guardians.
Yep.
They're trying to get Pangolin as well. A lot of action happening on the map here.
Really interesting heavy melee there. Penguin just rips the parry a little bit too late. And, there's that Page Doorman. It's starting to get some of that pressure on that solo lane set.
Looks like me parrying out there. I can't hit a parry to save my life, but apparently one lead can. He gets a nice one there on Paradox Lover. Has to pop the Shadow Transformation to stay alive. However, Calico's Shadows are a little bit better as they take out Insatsu, even though they get combat. Another parry there onto Paradox Lover. Not even really necessary, just to show him who's boss. As they come out of that with a triple kill.
Yeah, you're continuing to feed those souls on into one lead already at 9.3k, sitting
Same
very
as 7.
happily.
Yeah.
I'm letting you sit in silence for that. I know.
No, sorry, I interrupted. That's my bad. But yeah, both of these two getting quite fed, as you've got Calico's just farming it off of kills while Pangolin sits back and takes all the neutrals.
Yep. I'm gonna choose to distribute. Both of these teams are continuing to farm up. You got a solid 14k soul lead being developed. You got 45 seconds onto the first earned spawn. you know, there's your opportunity if you're Macalester. You're looking for it. I think that the first urn spawns on the left-hand side, correct me if I'm wrong, so it makes sense that both of these teams are applying a little more pressure there.
A green walker is under attack.
Meanwhile, on the other side, Viscous gets in some chip damage onto this walker at least. Plenty of tools to be able to get away. And that Yamato, who is currently one of the higher soul counts on Macalester College. Basil and Paradox Lover, two highest soul counts. After Paradox Lover catches that wave, they will be the highest at 8.3. Meanwhile, UNM have got two 11k members on kill streaks there. DXRK, falling a bit behind on this haze, rather. Haven't seen a whole lot from them this game, but they seem to be taking more of an economy role to let the rest of the team get farmed up.
Yeah, I mean, it is sort of bound to happen. UNM, they've got a lot of, you know, farm-hungry characters, and if you've decided, okay, the haze is gonna catch a short end of that stick, at least they do have some of that utility with the sleeping daggers, and I'm sure they're gonna be able to buy some supportive items.
Would hope, as R&M gets taken out here on the left side. Again, not a whole lot of damage from Macalester to be able to fend off shoves like this, and I think UNM could potentially even grab the urn here, but with it being on the opposite side of the map as just the first urn of the game, would be difficult to try and turn in.
Yep, and it's just a game of neutralizing the Yamato here. The Warden does come up and catch the haze off guard, and there's going to be some big heavy melees there to secure that kill. Warden trying to change the worlds, but it does seem like the Ivy's just too fast to catch.
Yeah, Ivy and Viscous both with a decent amount of escapability, and there's no wave up there either, so not much to stay for if you're Macalester College.
Yep.
And they'll just change the world one wave at a time instead of perhaps the kills that they were looking for. Calico, this is something to worry about here if you're the Warden. Basil gonna have to run for this. Takes a heavy melee to the back. As well as a return to Shadows. One lead getting really aggressive here under the Walker. Just barely finds the kill and even gets the extra souls off of that Leaping Slash upgrade. So a nice bit of economy again for this Calico.
Yep, really good. I was starting to wonder there for a bit if she was going to have enough damage to secure that kill, but just barely was able to. It was a good attempt on the parry, though. I'm sure that, you know, you're very low HP, your opponent sees you, and they might try and risk it on a quick one, but, you know, good discipline there from Juan Lead. Seems like the doorman is going to be the next one to go down. Escape the hotel with this one through, sending them back to the Baroness. Now the 7 here is very well farmed. He's going to be able to take it out.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot that Macalester can do at the moment to try and stop Pangolin and One Lead when they're together.
Calico's missing.
You're 17k down as a team. You really need to engage off of some of these low combos or something, but even then, it's tough to find an answer here from Macalester already. You're down all 3 Guardians. You're taking some Walker pressure, especially over here on this right side. There's just not a lot of opportunities to get back into this with the comp that you have. It kind of came out worst case scenario when we were talking about how Macalester needs this early game to go their way. It really hasn't so far.
Yeah, it really feels like we're in a slow cooker and the pressure is just building up. The next couple objectives are really going to be make or break for these teams. UNM, all they really have to do is just continue to coast on this solely that they have. You know, they're strong-arming their way through most of the jungle creeps. They're not really contested on any of the neutrals. Ultimately, what's going to end up making a difference is potentially one of these urns or the mid-boss, should they be able to get enough kills to feel comfortable going through it.
Hold up. Is there a UI bug, or did I just see Fury Trance on this doorman? Miele?
What?
With the extended mag, Fury Trance, Resto Shot. We got a Gunman coming in. Of all the strategies we talked about Doorman being viable in this meta, that's not one that crossed our minds.
You know what? I'm willing to hear him out. Hey, there's some hidden secret tech, you know, the bell curve, you know, at the beginning, Gunman is OP, and then like, oh no, but you need to run Spirit because it maximizes your shield and bell damage, and then you reach Eternus and it's like Gunman OP. So maybe there's a little bit of that going on.
Well, it's a tall order to try and carry this game. as you're already behind by a decent amount after that really disappointing lane against the 7 and the Ivy. You just kind of have to sit and hope that you can do something here later in the game. So far, not much of an effort to push out into that left lane to get the comeback turn, which is one of the best ways for a team that's behind this early to come back into the game. Another way could be through a kill here, but the Mo combo just lasts for so short against this Calico and immediately turns around and gets a kill, and further putting pressure on this right walker are UNM Cherries. They decide to stay, they could go for it, but even at 15 minutes, they feel like they can't quite go for it.
Yeah, instead UNM, they're opting to play things on the safe path. I mean, they're not going to be able to finish this game before maybe 30 minutes anyways. And that's, looking at, the higher rank you are, the faster you finish out games. So naturally, this being a little bit of a lower bracket, I wouldn't be surprised if even with this lead, it still ends up going out pretty far. We do have, obviously the new bridge buff spawning. The Warden's actually able to steal one away for himself, but he is going to get found out here by the Calico.
And the stun under the last stand as well, just to make sure that he has no chance whatsoever of getting away with that casting buff. And, well, I've been talking about Pangolin in one lead pretty much this whole game. Grand Snack on the Victor has quietly stayed pace as well. 2-0 on that hero. And 17k in the bag for him, starting to get some of those crucial items online. Like the Torment Pulse Rapid Recharge, so all cylinders firing here for UNM Cherry. They're just starting to get aggressive onto these walkers, try and take what they can.
Yep. I mean, we called it out earlier, right? It's going to be really hard to sustain, or to have enough farm to sustain 2 to 3 hyper carry characters, but I mean, all you got to do is take over the enemy jungle, and then suddenly you have more than enough to make it work, right? You got plenty of souls to go around. The reanimation does come out from Victor's. It's going to be forced, but this is almost 3k HP Victor. I don't think he's going to have too much of a problem getting out, especially with the help of the Ivy Calico.
Yeah, that's just a little bit too far there. The Vitality buff for Grand Snake, more than enough to let him live through that. And yeah, that's about the first time we've seen UNM falter just a little bit, and even then that was just leaving the Victor ult in exchange for a walker, so not much going wrong for them so far, as DXRK will fall down, but as kind of your sack hero of this bunch, it's not the worst thing in the world for UNM, especially as you've got a wave crashing on the walker.
Yeah, I mean, Victor ults for a walker is pretty good trade already, and then you also just catch the Warden out for overextending. Not too bad of a deal. Now, with the gold lead, or with the soul lead, sorry, it extended over to 30k at 17 minutes. What do you think this team is going to get up to next to try and, close out that game?
I mean, so far it's just been one lead wandering around playing lobby admin, taking whatever kills they need. It seems like the Abrams is next on the chopping block, but it'll be away for now. And yeah, I expect them to keep pushing these walkers, keep being aggressive, because there's not a whole lot that can punish them, and I think they realize that, as Basil's not nearly high enough in the soul count to be able to contest. You really need like some combination from the CC of Macalester. That'll be difficult to organize, as we do see a bit of a turnaround from UNM here, trying to catch out Grand Snake, but there's just too many members of UNM here, and Insatsu will fall. Basil shortly to follow, I imagine, and about all you're going to get for this from Macalester is a Guardian on the left side.
Yeah, I mean, Paradox Lover might be your anchor point for the team, but it's going to be really hard for them to get their job done, right? Especially when you're running into a 7 who is 10k up on you, and they rotate the rest of the team around as well. And even when we're looking at the rest of the map here, this Page Doorman combo is getting collapsed on. I don't think they're going to be able to make their way out of this.
No, they don't even get the Guardian. I mean, that's about a pity constellation, but they don't even manage to get that, as Miele will also fall with Stormcloud. I mean, Pangolin and One Lead have just been a duo this entire game, despite not landing together, so pretty great work from UNM, just being active around the map so far.
Yep, now they are setting their sights on that last walker that is still standing. There is a solid but small resistance there, as Basil, falls over next, gives a nice 600 soul bag over to the Calico, donate to the rich. as the airdrop here is looking to help close out this Walker kill.
Not a whole lot that Macalester can do down their Warden. And then Satsu also going pretty low here. Not much the Abrams can put in to work here. Combo comes in though, tries to find something, but it's onto a member who can get cubed, so nothing really much coming out of that, as even Grensneck will make it out completely healthy as they are a victor. And next, Paradox Lover on the menu. Lots of members here for UNM Cherry trying to get something more. 1.5k bag dropped by one lead. That is a solid death that you like for Macalester, but they won't be able to come in and claim that bag because 5 kills, about to be a 6th for UNM Cherry. Full team wipe 20 minutes into the game.
Yeah, you see they're just maxing out that comeback mechanic. The Calico dying for 50 seconds. That's 20 seconds longer than RNM just had to wait for their respawn timer, so this would take them out of the fight for quite a while, but all that's really going to do is just stop them confirming it further.
But it will mean a mid-boss for UNM Cherry, as there's still plenty of other members with the damage to be able to come in here. Infuser already online for Grensneck. Taking a lot of damage from this mid-boss, but, I mean, it's a Victor. He'll be able to heal right back up. And, yeah, 20-minute mid-boss, that's about what we saw from our Div 1 team. So UNM Cherry at least knowing how to progress on their big snowball so far.
Yep, and you know, now that they have this rejuve, it should enable them to play even more bold with their lead. They have the urn that has spawned close to the majority of these members, so hopefully they're going to be able to pick it up and act upon it. To the Warden, they're playing very aggressively while walking up to both the wave and the urn, but oh my god. The Torment Pulse and the Shadows together just basically 100 to 0.
The Gloom Bombs went off while they were in the Return to Shadows there and chunked at least half of his HP, so as long as you connect with those as Calico, I think you're doing pretty good in this meta. And this Ivy as well, picking up the Vortex Web. Help lock down the members of Macalester, just ensure that they have no escape whatsoever, even if you somehow survive one lead getting on top of you.
Yeah, now we do have one lead walking over with that urn. It is going to be pretty hard to contest here for Macalester, but if there's any time for them to do it, it was 5 minutes ago. But this is the second best time.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep. It's going to be a pretty free turn in here. No members of Macalester coming to contest. And I feel like this just kind of shades of our last game where UNM got ahead really early. The same as University of Toronto, and it's just going to be a slow choke out here as Macalester don't feel like going for any fights. They know they can't really win them without some sort of big mistake.
Yep.
And it's just going to be UNM pulling further and further ahead until they can just run into the base uncontested.
Yeah, RNM gets caught out. You know, shouldn't have stepped 3 feet outside of your base. Sorry, buddy. And
Disc.
And UNM, they're able to convert this into, you know, raising some of the base guardians. You know, hopefully be able to get in and get some of the damage down on that on those shrines, because now once you destroy those shrines, you're going to both spawn an extra wave of minions, and you're also going to empower all of your lane minions as well. So very powerful rewards here, even if you don't, you know, fully siege out the base.
And Warden was missing for most of this fight as well. Basil is off trying to maybe make something happen on the left side. Is now coming in with the last stand, but UNM are down to make that definitely a last stand, as Basil will fall to the 7, and they'll just continue to take shrines here. You were saying 30 minutes. I think UNM might have heard you and are taking that as a challenge.
I do think that the game might end a little before they're able to challenge some of these, you know, big soul leads, but you know, the end result is still the same, right? They're able to secure this victory in a pretty fast amount of time. I guess this is also partly to do with the recent patch, just how much more souls are on the map, how much more you can get out of the mid-boss. It helps escalate things further than they would have been previously.
Thanks for your help, Ava.
That's true. That's a change in the patch that we haven't yet talked about, is almost all of the objectives are now worth more souls, and so if you are the team that's ahead, that's helping you snowball to get in there. And this is the final phase of the Patron. UNM are just going at it, and Macalester can't stop them at all. This is a pretty brutal beatdown. We might get banned off Twitch for this one.
I don't know if I'd go that far, Don. If anything, it would be the
What?
But yeah, now the Hidden King on his last legs there, doing it all for the Archmother, of course, Archmommy, if you will.
Hold up.
and UNM secure the first map.
All right, well, that's about as clean as matches go. UNM took an early lead. They kept snowballing it. Let's go to breaking game 2. No, not quite yet. But I mean, really, that was just textbook from UNM Cherry. Oh no, wait, we're going to break.
Nope.
No, it's just the scoreboard. Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, Calico, MVP, obviously, did really well, has all of the accolades. I'm surprised he didn't get most healing. But yeah, that does go over to the Viscous, putting in the good work. And yeah, I don't think that there are too many other takeaways aside from what we've already kind of hammered home, is that UNM were able to get that early game lead. They were able to put the 7 and the Calico ahead in 2 separate lanes. And then after that, it was sort of, done and dusted. I don't think we really had much of a match from it.
No, it was just kind of UNM's game to lose, and they took it all the way. Like, let's talk about the average ranks. I didn't realize until after I'd said it, like, how big a difference that is. That's 2 full, like, rank blocks are UNM Cherry ahead of Macalester Esports in this contest, and that kind of showed in that match. Like,
yeah,
no offense to Macalester, but that was pretty brutal. And if we think that Game 2 is going to be anything like that, Macalester are in real dangers of missing the playoffs from this one.
Yep, there's certainly a lot riding on this next match. I mean, we did see it from the series before. U of T had a really rough time, but they were able to come back and give us a really good map too. So I'm cheering here for Macalester. They've got the opportunity here to reset. We've got a few minute break coming up too, just to, jog the mental. Everyone get up, walk around your room. And I mean, I'm sure that everyone's going to come back and we're going to give it our all on map 2.
Yep, we'll go to a quick break and we'll see if maybe Macalester can turn things around, but we'll have to do that in Game 2 as we go after this.
Greetings from the Andrews sisters. I'm Patty. I'm Maxine. And I'm Laverne.